Hello my friends, I am officially back in the swing of things for my Workbook Wednesday tutorials, and today we're going to be drawing this really fun traditional style tattoo style rose inspired by the new collection I'm working on. You all voted and you wanted to see more flowers, so I hope that this is fun for you. You don't have to do the leaves around it, you don't have to do the detailing, but it is a pretty flower regardless that you can use in a lot of different ways. So because it's a little more complex, I did the worksheet a little different this time. What I did is I did in red is each step, and then I showed kind of like the brush stroke movements for them. Then I did a line of just the details themselves, and then a grayed out version that you can trace over. So hopefully this is helpful for you. And if you like this new format, just let me know. So today I'm going to be using this green. We're using a 1%. No, we're going to use a small brush just so it fits on here. So it's 2% with the Monoline brush that comes with Procreate. I have had the hiccups on and off all morning, so if I sound a little funny, just ignore that. Please don't make fun of me too much. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're gonna do first is this area, and so that's like the focal point of the rose, and we're going to start with a little teardrop shape. You should be familiar with that from all of the flowers we've done so far, but basically what you're doing is going around in a circle and connecting it at the point. So we start with a teardrop, and then the next thing we're going to do is on the side of that teardrop, just draw a line coming straight down. And then from there you have your teardrop and your line, and we're going to do this kind of like curly Q, almost like if you were doing a backwards E, but you just don't have the curve at the bottom. So you'll come around and then down, just following this shape. It's just like an arch. And then the last part here is we have our teardrop, we have our line, and we have our curly Q. And we're just going to add another line on the other side so that it creates this kind of rounded out center for our rose. So you can go through and practice that until you're comfortable with it. And then from there, what we're going to do is create the 2 petals framing that center. So again, we have our teardrop and our line, our curly Q, and then the other outside line. And from there, we're just going to draw a heart. So you just come around to a point on both sides. And again, I'll just do that here. I'm just going to keep going over it because muscle memory is great with drawing. And the more you do something, the more comfortable you get. And you'll be able to do it without a second thought. So then once you have that heart center, what you're going to do is add, I'm going to call these the little butterfly wings, and it's almost like a backwards 3. So you just come around and back down, and you can do it a little more curved without the point if that's what you want to do. And then we're just going to repeat that on the other side. So I'm just going back through my shape here. And I know this might seem repetitive or a little tedious, but I promise you it will help you in the long run to get the hang of it. But then this is what it looks like at this step. And then we're going to move on to doing kind of like the bulb of the flower, I guess is a good word for it. And what we're going to do here is about 1/2 inch below our center that we've drawn, we're going to draw a folded petal, and it starts with this almost like elongated S curve, and then you just add some bumps to it. It doesn't have to be perfect, it can be different than that if you want a different look, but we're just gonna, you can even do it the other way if that's easier for you. We're just gonna do our petal there, and I'm just gonna redraw this. And if you follow along with me, I promise by the end of this, you're gonna be an expert at drawing these. Okay, and then the next step is going to be to add this oval. So I added a new layer so that I can erase the overlap easily. If you're working in Procreate, that's a good way to do this. If you're working on paper, just have an eraser handy. And we're just gonna draw our oval. And it's gonna start and end kind of, oops, that's too much on eraser. Like at the, I'd say like the bottom third right here of our center. And so you see how it overlaps on these? The next step here is just to erase any overlap that came from that. So then you see here, this is what our flower looks like at this step. Okay. And then we can come on up here. The next step is adding on our petals. For this flower style, I did 5 petals, and they are all this shape that we should be familiar with after these tutorials. You do a slight up curve and a slight out curve, and it's a curved upside down V. So basically, if you were to do a V upside down, but add some wiggles to it. And so we're gonna go back in and draw our, I'm gonna make this just a tiny bit smaller so it fits. Draw our flower here. The same steps that we've been doing. You've got your butterfly wings. You've got your, oops. I have a blister cut on my finger from drawing too much while I was on vacation, because I started that new collection and I was having a blast with it. So it's kind of messing up my drawing skills because it keeps getting caught. But okay, so we're just gonna start with the petal on the top, and you arc up, point, and arc back down, and then you're going to draw the next one starting from that first petal. So you'll come up to a point and then come down and connect to this bulb, and then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to start from the petal and come down to our centerpiece, and then repeat. This one you're going to stop here because we're adding one last petal to connect them, and it's going to have that same overlap. So you start this one on the base and then connect it to that petal. So you can stop here if you want to, and you have a really pretty rose. If you're planning on using these for something that's not this traditional tattoo style, this is a good place to stop, and then you can add more realistic detailing to it if that's what you want to do. But to continue with this style, we're going to add some leaves to our drawing. And then again, we're just gonna go back through and see by now it's muscle memory. I barely have to think about it. Draw my little heart, draw my butterfly wings, and draw my folded petal, my oval, and my petals here. And the good thing about these shapes is that they're all common to what we've been using, and they should be pretty easy to get the hang of. But for this particular flower, I did a mixture of 2 leaf styles. So there's a wider curved upside down V and then a skinnier one. So you can do the up and down. It's not the dramatic point that the petals have, it's just a slight curve up and a slight curve out for both of them. This one's a little bit more dramatic, but it doesn't have to be unless you want it to be. And so what I did to balance this is I started with 2 little leaves on this side, and then kind of right across from it just did 1 leaf to balance that. And then I did a large leaf on top, and then balanced out the remaining areas with an asymmetrical arrangement of those leaves. So this is where you are right now, and you can absolutely stop here if that's what you want to do. But I like to add a little bit of extra detailing just for that little fun touch. So again, I'm gonna draw this flower. Hopefully by the end of this you still like it and you aren't cursing my name for the way this is set up. Having you draw it over and over and over again. But I thought it would be fun to, while we're still doing a flower, it's a little bit different than the styles we've been doing, just to give you all something new for your arsenal and to relate it to the work that I've been sharing with you. Because I think that's fun. We can all kind of work on similar things while still maintaining our own artistic integrity and individuality. Okay, so this is where we were from the last step, and then what I did is I went around to each petal and added these lines to kind of show some depth. So I just added 3, and they're slightly curved, but nothing too dramatic in each one. And then for these big petals, I added an X. So what you can do with these, you can do a lot of different things. You could do the traditional like leaf stem that you can do here. You could do, you know, the shading that we've done. But for these, I went with more of like a graphic style instead of like a realism style. And so it's easy. You just do a curved X. And then there you are. You are pretty much done with your design. You can shade it if you like to. Super simple. It's just a lot of the same shapes. The really complicated part is the center, but once you get that down, like, you're good to go. You can mix it up, change the shape of the petals, change the shape of the leaves, and have a whole garden of gorgeous roses at your disposal. So I hope you enjoyed this workbook, and I will be back to my regularly scheduled Wednesday workbook posting. The worksheets are free if you join Sam's little group on Facebook. Otherwise, they will be available on my Etsy shop for $2.50, and you can follow along this video either on an iPad or print them out and work with pen and paper. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.